bother.
Well, hi, James. Obviously, better known as Mythman, but I hear that you were away at a concert last night.
I was indeed, Paul.
Yes.
Yeah, Eagles at Murrayfield, along with half of the Borders, I think.
I think so, yes.
No, excellent. Would thoroughly recommend it. It was an excellent night. But suffering for it today. But,
and how were the octogenarians?
Aye, very good.
Yeah, a bit like the Rolling Stones, eh?
Aye, I tell you, for the guys at their age that they're at, they did not miss a beat, certainly. Like, and as I say, it was an excellent night.
When it comes to musicians, as I say, they get better as they get older, and they just learn to relax more and just enjoy the experience themselves. So
they were. Joe Walsh was on last night. He says he had more fun being 20 in the 70s than he does being 70 in the 20s. But he still was able to call it a tune. Like, it was good.
Good stuff. So anyway, talking about life in the fast lane. Obviously, we're here to get today to this evening. Let me get it right. To talk a little bit about the live chat that we're looking forward to on Sunday with a certain Czechoslovakian rider, a certain Mr. Rymel.
Yeah. Brilliant rider in his day. Arguably one of the best ever to be, and to don the black and gold of Berwick, certainly.
Well, let's see if I've got a picture of Mr. Rymel that we can pop up. Hold on a sec. Technology isn't always my best thing, but there we go. Yes. Has that come up for you?
Yeah, it has indeed.
I've no idea whose knees we've got on the side there, but there's Adrian. Obviously working hard on his bike.
There'll be somebody out there that can identify whose knees they are, I guarantee it.
Yeah. And I don't know, has that picture come up for you?
It's still the same one.
Still the same one. Okay, I'll stop share and then click on that one. Because that's a nice one of Adrian. There we go.
Yeah, I think that's how everybody remembers him, to be honest.
Yeah. I want to take you back to an article that you wrote, and then an article that the lovely Sarah wrote. And I'm going to pop that up on screen, and it's going to be absolutely brilliant to have you actually narrating it. Yeah, well, the thing is this. Just before I do that, commentating, how are you finding it? We're nearly, I would say, what, 2/5 or what would be a better 4/5 through the season, are we?
Yeah, we're getting chowed through the meetings. Certainly, I will be beyond halfway. Certainly, yeah.
I was going to say, you remember when we first started doing when we did our first chat, the idea was to meet up again in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Well, how long did that plan last?
Not long, less than 2 weeks.
Yes.
Less than 2 weeks. But no, it's good. Stuff like this is miles out of my sort of comfort zone, to be honest. And but it's been good. It's been good crack, and obviously we've had a bit of patter, obviously, off air and stuff like that, which is good. It's a good laugh, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
It was a couple of things that really strike me about it so far. It's the fact that obviously Greg is a natural. Are we calling him Ricky Bartosh now with his new shirt?
that shirt's dodgy. There's no question about it. Like,
not as dodgy as mine, though.
Well, I mean, everyone's relative, isn't it? I suppose.
But obviously, I first met Marty way back in the early noughties, and to catch up with him again, and Graham, it's pretty awesome. And I mean, when you think of some of the guests that we've had on, it's been, I mean, to get Lee and Seb and Ricky, and Leon's been on twice now. Yeah. Dean Felton, I mean, how much fun was that with his stories?
Dean was great crack, to be honest. It was really good crack.
And obviously, I'm trying to think. Well, we got Kyle on as well. We've had obviously Mike on, and a few, George and Sarah. Graham. You know, I'm struggling to remember everybody that we've had on, and it's just grown.
Bit of a whirlwind, to be honest, isn't it? It's been good. It's been good crack. And as I say, what I've liked about it is that, you know, that the times I've not been able to be available myself, you know, the guys have stepped in, and you know, or you've had somebody else come in, and it's great. And I'm sure the rest of the guys would say the same.
It's just a case of whoever's available, and everybody's been really accommodating. I mean, like Gary Flint, you know, was brilliant. You know, came in obviously in a kind of difficult situation and handled the situation perfectly. You know.
Yeah, I know it was good. It was, as you say, it was obviously there's been a kind of couple of big news days.
Yes.
For good and bad. Obviously with the Newcastle thing, and I pray that gets sorted, because we can ill afford to lose another club. But you know, but there's been some big news days, and the guys have been right on it. So yeah, it's good.
Anyway, cracking on with the first of the articles. Let's just make sure it's there. Yes, it is. So we'll just click on share screen and click on this one. Any idea how long ago you wrote this one?
I guess a couple of years ago, from memory.
Well, there you go. 20th of July.
Just about exactly 2 years ago.
And unfortunately, because of the way that it's it's on the computer, we're only seeing the top of your head, so we can only assume that it's you.
It's definitely me.
Yeah. Okay. Far away. Can you see that? Okay. By the way.
That's
I think I can make it a bit bigger. Just
that's fine. That should be all right.
There you go.
Cool. So over the last 20 years or so, Berwick Bandits have put together some rather cosmopolitan looking lineups. In fact, so much so I spoke about in a previous blog, which I should add, I can't remember doing, but there we go. I'm sure we'll find that at some point. Enjoyed it so much, decided to revisit the subject. Well, that coupled with the fact that I've virtually sod all else to do and write about. Anyway, maybe it was something that floats everybody's boat, but I must be honest and say this kind of international flavour that it brings about, I kind of like the international flavour, that it brings about. Don't ask me why, but I just do. However, while we've all been well served over the years by the likes of Michael Makowski and Adrian Rymel, both of whom would go on to become Bandits legends, there are some imports which were considerably less successful. Take Danny Gatmeyer, for example. He may have his critics, as every rider does, but there is no question he is by far one of our success stories, especially compared to his fellow countryman Manuel Hausinger, whose name it took longer to say than his Bandits career lasted.
Brilliant.
Tiro Arnio was another who found success as a Bandits rider and became a firm favourite for his tenacious showings in black and gold, but his fellow countryman Jarno Kosonen, well, he was finished before he started. We've had an influx in Swedish and Danish riders in our ranks over the years, but for every Seb Alden and Nikolai Busk-Jakobsen, there has been a Benny Johansson and a Jan Pedersen. Please don't think for a second that I'm disrespecting any of these riders. I have ultimate respect for anybody who throws a leg over a bike, but not every rider can be a success story. The sport and life in general simply isn't like that. There are, however, a few riders over the years who showed flashes of just what they were capable of before disappearing off into the sunset and leaving you wondering, what if? Slovenian rider Matic Voldrich was a very short stint with us back in 2015, and while he found it going a little tough at times, he wasn't short on bottle, and he looked to be getting the hang of Shielfield Park at least. That was until a horrendous accident in his homeland, resulting in a broken leg, put him out of action indefinitely, and to my knowledge, he has never ridden again. Then there was Norbert Warman Koze Magoze, the Hungarian rider, who was a fantastic backup to Adrian Rymel, and the two formed quite the partnership. He was a rider who would have done a fantastic job for any team, and after a spell with the Bandits, it appeared he was lost to British Speedway. Yeah. What if? Bevan Compton was one of the few South African riders to make waves in British Speedway. An import of Peter Waite, he signed for the club in 2001, posted a very respectable average of just over 5 points a meeting. An eye-catching leg trailing style looked destined for a bright future, but a knee injury, if memory serves, curtailed his season and his Bandits career in one fell swoop, and to my knowledge, again, he never rode. What if? Another couple of riders who spring to mind were a pair of German riders, Stefan Mell and Joachim Kugelmann. Mell was a lanky rider with a strange style, racked up plenty of points at the start of 2002 before departing, never to be seen on these shores again. what if? 2004 saw the arrival of Kugelman, who proved to be a decent scorer too, but after 14 meetings, he too was gone. And that was that. Another rider lost to British Speedway. Oh, what could have been? What if? Of course, there may be many more stories, more and more of these stories that I know. And I'm sure someone out there will be dying to tell me that I'm talking a lot of bollocks and remind me how wrong I am. One thing I do know is that perhaps the biggest case of this came in the form of Carlos Villa. The unknown Argentinian became an instant hit with the Bandits fans for his spectacular style and general fearlessness. However, tragically, at the end of the 2003 season, he would suffer life-changing injuries in a fairly simple-looking crash in the last meeting of the season against Newport. Had Carlos made it through that meeting unscathed, I firmly believe that he would have went on to cement his place among the all-time greats of Berwick Speedway. Before folks jumps down my throat, I'm not claiming that Carlos would have went on to be a world champion, but what I do know is that he was robbed of his chance to fulfill his full potential. With a bit of backing and better equipment, Carlos would have become a very handy rider at this level and perhaps even become a standout if given the chance. What if indeed? Speedway is filled with plenty of these tales. Who have you got? I'd love to hear about it. I don't know if anybody ever did, but there we go. And then there's the usual bump that I put at the end of everything just to beef up the word count. So,
and until next time, and there will be a next time.
There will be a next time. Right, I'll hit again.
Brilliant. You know, bizarrely, reading that back reminds me that Carlos Villa, he was being induced by Newcastle at the time, at the end of the midway through the season.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I heard it. You know, actually, Carlos himself didn't say it, but you know, there were plans afoot to take him to Newcastle because they fancied him. And they were going to offer him more money and all this kind of stuff, you know. But yeah, he would have been fantastic.
I do firmly believe that if he hadn't gotten hurt, he would have started that next season better equipped.
Yes,
maybe a better sponsorship because he'd earned that, you know. And I think that again, he wouldn't have went on to be a world champion, but like there was something there that he had all the tools were there. I mean, he was wild as tartan, you know what I mean? Like on a bike, I mean, he was wild, but he had this ability about him that, you know, I don't know, it just it was unlike anybody I've ever really seen since as well. That had just that kind of magic about him, that kind of it factor, if you like. It's no, it was a sad day, that, to be fair.
I mean, it was interesting that Peter Waite went out and got so many foreign riders, including likes of Adam Petrasco, Stan Butzer, you know. There was some fantastic the Rampala.
Yeah, both of them. Both of them were handy.
Yeah.
Marson in particular was very, very handy.
Yeah.
Jacek was a bit of an enigma at times, but he was. They were both fantastic riders on their day.
Yeah. You forgot to mention our Great Danes, Charlie Jeddah and Klaus Christensen.
Yeah. Well, one was a success story, and the other one was Charlie Jeddah. So there we go.
but no, getting back to the three Czechs, in fact, because we always kind of lumped them together because they all started the same season together, didn't they? Can you remember what average they were on at the start of the season?
9.
Yeah. That was 27 points taken up with 3 riders. But it was the only way that Peter Waite could do it, because as he said, he didn't have any assets. There were no Berwick assets. He went out to the Czech Republic to watch the Czech final, you know, the championship. And I believe it was Michael Makowski that won it. So therefore, he got the contract, but he had 2 other contracts, and every single one of the 15 riders that took part in that Czech championship would have come to Berwick.
Yeah,
and I'd like to know some of the names that he didn't sign up, but I think what he was saying to me was that he liked the looks of Joseph Frank and a certain Adrian Rymel.
Yeah. Now,
thoughts on Adrian, because I've got my own thoughts on how he progressed, but can you remember your sort of first early watchings of Adrian?
It was the most natural on a bike again. The 3 of them will always be compared to one another, Pepe, Michael and Adrian, and rightly or wrongly they'll always be compared to one another. It was the most naturally don't know if gifted's the right word, but he was the most natural on the bike, and he looked like he had to work the least to make it work, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Out of the three, where somebody like Michael, for instance, looked like in the early years was fighting with the bike at every corner, and pulling all sorts of shapes, whereas it was just smooth and like silky smooth for Adrian. It just seemed to come really easy for him. And that was always, and again, there's other people that we've, that we both know that'll say the very same thing, and that'll argue that he's arguably one of the most naturally talented riders that's ever ridden for the club.
I mean, I certainly remember watching him with Marty. I think it was the first time I met Marty was a rain off at Newport, and the following day we were at Reading, and I remember chatting with Marty near the pits area, and then later on in that heat, in the meeting, Adrian won a race, and it was really fascinating because he won it, but he was following the dirt line all the way around and trusting the dirt line, whereas some of the Reading boys were following a much tighter line, and he kept overtaking on the back straight because he'd got the speed, and he clearly was a very, very smart rider, and he congratulated me at the end of the meeting on the fact that I had borrowed my dad's car to come down, and it was a Skoda. And he was, that's a good Czech car. But no, he was, as you say, he very, very stylish, but also, unlike Pepe, who, well, I don't know whether this is an advantage or disadvantage, but Pepe actually dropped down to reserve a couple of times, didn't he?
Yeah, I can't remember if that was in that first season.
I think it was, yeah.
It could have been. Memory's a bit hazy, but it was 20 years ago now, I think, which is frightening. But yeah, he certainly seemed to have he did have a spell at reserve, and it was a very productive sort of spell for him. Once it happened, and once he found his feet, because if memory serves, the likes of Adrian kind of hit the ground running.
Yes.
I mean, the three of them were never going to live up to a 9-point average. There was just no way that was going to happen. But like, if from memory, I think, Adrian sort of hit the ground running, as it were, and he started to pick up a few points here and there, and Michael did as well to a lesser extent, and but Pepe struggled in the sort of early going, certainly, but three. I mean, at the time, nobody in their right mind would have thought that the three of them would go on to be what they were for the club. I don't think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I mean, that they were all excellent riders in their own right.
Yep. And also, laughably, I remember, again, it was a meeting at Reading. Now, I don't know if it was the same one or I think I went a couple of times. But I remember Adrian and whoever his partner was at the time, they came out with the same helmet colours. And they got, I think Adrian got excluded under the 2 minutes because it was like, or the referee did, there was no help from Reading Speedway, to point out the fact they'd got the wrong, and I'm shouting, from the stand, because I could see that they both got the, whatever it was, the white or the yellow and black, but there was no sort of, let them race, let them wait till the race is about to begin, and then the referee can exclude one of them.
Yeah,
which he promptly did, and it was like, come on, it's tough enough being the away team, but I've seen that happen at Berwick, whereby the clerk of the course and the marshals, and it's announced, isn't it? Could the rider in gate, change your helmet color because it's you're in the wrong color.
No.
Reading Speedway weren't interested in helping us out that day. And bizarrely, of course, in the opposition was Mr. Morris, Mr. Phil Morris, who I'm sorry to say I'm not a great fan of, but Paul Clues, who obviously ended up being a Berwick rider and notable. Anyway, next article. I'm just thinking, James, you did such a fantastic job with the first one. I think you deserve
You stitched me up a kipper here.
I think you deserve another one, don't you? Don't you?
Well, we're here now, so
exactly. Here we go. And I would just before we start just say that is Sarah, and it was absolutely fantastic having her on and chatting with Mike and Ryan Nassau. Is it Nassau?
Nassau, yeah.
Yeah. And it was you that put us onto him. So we look forward to having a chat with Ryan and hopefully a couple of other people from Redcar the week before we face them in the Knockout Cup, and hopefully they will explain all their conspiracy theories about why the meeting was cancelled.
Ryan's a good lad. He's right.
Yeah. And isn't it good that you've got somebody, like under 30 that's now, putting forward their sort of ideas and
definitely.
It's because Speedway has been accused of being this sport whereby, the older people are there and they're just sort of, once they're gone, the sport's going to die. No, it's not. Of course it's not.
No. I think there's certainly a future in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt that there's flaws within it, but however, it is what it is.
Sure. Anyway, I'll let you crack on.
Okay, doke. So, with other bloggers beating me at the punch over our fingers crossed Black Cat stroking now surely under 21 championship, decided to go the other way and reflect on my favourite Banditos. Been around Speedway since I was a kiddo. I think my early days were really just spent enjoying being there without concentrating on the individual riders too much, which means my favourite, really top of the pile for me, Berwick riders were all in action after the millennium. Some may disagree, but these are my main men. Actually, before I start, I should nominate my near thing runners-up. Very, very honourable mentions would go to Seb Alden, Marcin Rimpala and Adam Petrasco. So near, so close, but no cigar, lads. So here we go. After much thought, and I suppose I spend quite a lot of my time thinking about the Bandits, I've gone for my three absolute heroes, each of whom paid a very heavy price for his love of our sport. If you'd asked me prior to 2012 what Speedway rider I really didn't like, I'd have answered promptly enough. I was ever ready to boo Ricky Ashworth in Sheffield's colours.
Absolutely. Me too.
I think everybody was at the time, to be honest. When I heard he'd signed up as a bandit, I had mixed thoughts. Well, I'll always cheer anyone wearing black and gold. There might be times when I'm cheering for his race jacket as much as the man.
Yeah.
At our pre-season do at the rugby club that year, I found myself pulled onto the floor by that bloody Mr. Barry on some pretext. Once out there, I started telling everyone exactly what I thought about the Ashcroft fella, which I thought was a bit strange, but I wasn't going to argue about. Then Ricky stepped out of the crowd around the bar with a huge bouquet of flowers, which he presented to me with a smacking kiss and a lovely wee speech about how he hoped he would win me over, but when the season started, no problem, he had me from the kiss. On track, he knuckled down and quickly became a local hero. A genuine number one. Cannot forget his phenomenal performance at Scunny that year. And of course, he was part of the 2012-14 tournament winners and came so close to helping us retain it the following year. Racing balls out all the way in every race before so sadly coming down in that tragic heat 11 at Scunthorpe. My next superstar arrived unheralded from deepest Argentina with no reputation and very little machinery.
Yeah.
Yet he quickly stole my and other hearts with his attitude, never prepared to be beaten if he could help it despite his tin pot equipment. Anyone at the Knockout Cup tie at Glasgow in 2003 will remember his astonishing ride to win Heat 14. What a hero. Carlos was a genuine friend that short year, and I got to know him well. He made Berwick his home, worked so hard to learn the lingo and made time for everyone, a real darling of a lad. Top of the table, tip of the iceberg to me, and the best bandit ever has to be Adrian Rymel. It's no contest, no one ever comes near him. Never gave up, except maybe a few times at Armadale, where of course his career tragically ended. Adrian was forever approachable, made time for all the fans, had that lovely laugh and crinkly eyes, as well as being such a brilliant rider, a fabulous bandit, and an all-round good guy, and very, very easy on my eye. There we go.
Yep.
You heard it there first.
Like, I
Just realised I'm sitting in total darkness here.
that's okay. Yeah, it's getting kind of dark anyway. So
There we go. We're
oh,
sorted.
oh.
Christ.
Don't worry. We are rapidly running out of time. We've got about 2 minutes to go. So I've just suddenly remembered Glasgow, Czech rider, Matej Kus.
Yes, there's a story for another day.
There you go. When he woke up speaking perfect English for 3 days.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I remember that. Everything happened in 2007.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, and I obviously I suppose the thing is that to be a Berwick legend, you have to have longevity, don't you?
Yeah, I think there's some guys that came in for a short period and made a big impact in
Yeah.
a short time. And then there's other guys that came in and grafted away, and then it became over time. Guys like Michael and Adrian, maybe to a slightly lesser extent, obviously had like long stints with the club and became synonymous with it. And it was at that time, in that time period, you didn't have a Berwick team without those guys in it. And stuff like that just doesn't happen so much now, I don't think.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to let you crack on because it's getting late, as you can tell by the fact that it must be after midnight over there in Tweedbank. So
I've just put 50 pence in the meter. It got dark while I was reading.
It did, yeah.
See myself.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers, mate. If I don't see you at the Speedway on Saturday because I'm elsewhere detained, we'll see you on Sunday with Adrian, and look forward to that.
Yeah, I should hopefully make that. It'll depend what's all going on, but I should hopefully make that.
Catch you later. Cheers, mate.
Cheers now.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Cheers now.